French and Friends here, 1590 WCGO. We are so pleased to have a couple of guests in studio. Nina Kavin with Dear Evanston joins us, and she has brought along a friend, Susan Trieschmann. How are you ladies doing this afternoon?
Great,
Good.
thank you. Really
Good to see you again, Nina.
Yeah, good to see you too.
We'll talk about Dear Evanston in just a moment, but you told me about Curt's Cafe, and I'm really stoked about this wonderful idea. People doing good is always something that's near and dear to my heart. You know, let's not just worry about how we can enrich ourselves. What about helping others? That's what it's all about,
Yeah.
isn't it? So, Susan joins us from Curt's Cafe, 2 locations. 2922 Central Street is Curt's Cafe, and Curt South, 1813 Dempster Street. So, what is Curt's Cafe? There are some people out there who don't know yet, and I'm excited for you to tell them about it.
Thank you for giving us the time. Curt's
pleasure.
Cafe is a fully functioning coffee shop cafe in 2 different locations, but our main goal, our mission is to work with underserved youth. One of our cafes serves young men, one serves young women, and we teach them everything they need to know to get a job in the restaurant industry or in any industry, really, because it's really hands-on job training, workforce training. But then the other component of Curt's that's a little bit different is we also teach extensive life skills. We have full-time social workers at both locations. We teach classes in anger management and current events and table etiquette, and we also work one-on-one with emotional issues like PTSD and dealing with some of the stresses that are involved in their lives.
Well, that's always seems to be the biggest issue for a lot of new people getting into the industry. They don't have any experience. Everybody wants 5 years of experience here, or you need to be a busboy for 6 years before you can even move up. What I really like about Curt's Cafe is they help with that. And what kind of programs or people are you really looking for to be in Curt's Cafe and be part of it?
So the young men and women that we serve, we call students, and we don't help or teach young men and women that just need job skills. That's not
Yeah.
our reach at all. Our reach is to work with the most underserved. So most of our students are homeless. Most of our students
Wow.
are working on their GEDs. Many of our students have come out of the prison system or highly been involved with the judicial system. Most of our students are in dangerous households if they're in households or couch surfing. So as many challenges as they have, the more challenges, the better. Those are the students that we choose to work with. And everyone's 15 to 24-year-olds. So we really work with the teenage market.
Okay.
Susan, I would have to think that coming into a restaurant environment, it's one of the most stressful jobs that anybody could ever have, but it's also probably the best job that any young person can have to prepare them for a professional life. As I mentioned, stressful. You're dealing with different personalities from all over the place. The kitchen is a boiler room for all intents and purposes. Was that kind of the idea to put to help these young people learn in that difficult an environment so that when they're done, when they've gone through the program and learned some of these skills, that they can really do about anything?
That was one of them, definitely. It was also, though, it's my passion. It's what I know. I
Restaurants?
love the restaurant business. I love serving people and getting them excited about what they're eating or the atmosphere they're coming into. I love making people feel welcome. So it was something I thought I could sell them on, so
Yeah.
they would become engaged and love it as much as I do. But it's also the second or third largest hiring industry. So food service will pick up a lot of people. And then thirdly, it's a less expensive way to eat, so they can always eat. If you're homeless, you don't have a lot of money to buy food, so they can eat with us 3, 4, 5 times a day if they
Yeah.
so choose. So there were all sorts of things that really made it the perfect way to help them learn the industry and help them get a job.
Yeah, I had a traveler buddy of mine. He said, if you know how to wait tables, you'll never go
Exactly.
hungry.
Yep.
And
It's the
that's
truth.
exactly the type of thing. So not only are you teaching job skills, but you said you're also teaching them life skills. What are some of the life skills that your students are learning?
Well, I call it my minivan and dining room table life skills. So it's everything that I worked with my kids on when they were stuck in the car, when we were driving back and forth. So things like anger management is how do we handle those kind of disappointments, resume writing. I teach a class in etiquette because I think it's always great to know which
Sure.
knife and fork to use. We teach safe sex. We teach domestic violence. What does it look like? We teach art therapy. So there's all sorts of broad ways that we help them learn different things in life. It's actually going to build a better platform than even the job training. You have to be secure in yourself, who you are as a man or woman, to be able to be employable, in all honesty.
We know that in schools, it's as much parental participation to make sure that these many of our children go to school to learn some of these skills. Is that why some of these youngsters are lacking perhaps in some of these skills? They don't have that, kick in the backside to make sure they're in school every day and consequently fall behind. The more you fall behind, the tougher it is to catch up.
I think that's definitely one of the things. I think also they've been neglected oftentimes since birth. They've been kicked out of their homes at 14. I don't know that when they were in their homes, because I've been in some of the
Yeah.
homes, and some homes are wonderful. I'm not
Yeah.
judging everyone, but some of the homes don't have food in them. They've never had food in them. They're not accustomed to having a Sunday dinner together with the family.
Yeah.
That's just nothing that was taught in general. And then when
Yeah.
you kick out your kids at 14, then the streets and the gangs are teaching them.
We were talking before about socio and economic benefits to your side, and what were those again?
The socio and economic.
Yes, the why there's a social reason, and there's also an economic reason why your I guess your program is actually taken off.
Oh, you put it in different words. You
Oh,
tricked
sorry.
me a little bit. It's
I
okay.
didn't mean to.
So the socio is obviously it's the right thing to do.
Mhm.
We have treated many people with injustice for many years. Most of us naively, myself included, and it's time that we step up and speak for those who cannot speak for themselves. I think that that's
Absolutely.
really important. That's a platform that I always start my day from. But the other thing is economically. So to incarcerate a young person is much more expensive than an adult. I've read over $80,000 a year to incarcerate a
Gosh.
youth for 1 year. And that's to incarcerate them, cage them, not feed them, not give them respect, any of those things. Our program is between $7,000 and $8,000 a year. That's on the very high side. And they come with us once and then they get jobs, and that's the only money you'll spend with us. So we raise 50% of our funds through the cash register, which means the youth that we're serving actually make their own money. And then we just have to fundraise 50%. So economically, it could save a tremendous amount in taxes if we could just put a little bit more credit into the youth and the fact that they are worth putting time and money into because they can change.
Absolutely.
Can I add something to that?
Absolutely,
think-
Nina Kavin.
I think also that when sometimes when people have had an experience with law enforcement or they've been in prison, they come out and they can't get a job, and without a job, they often end up back in
Mhm.
prison. When you give them job skills, there's much less recidivism.
Right. Our recidivism rate currently is 3%, which those three are still the ones that I stay up nights about. But the national average is 86%. So clearly we're saving a tremendous amount of money by doing we aren't. The kids are doing the work that they do.
Susan Trieschmann joins us right now from Curt's Cafe. Nina Kavin also joins us from Dear Evanston. I don't want to ask you what is the trick, because it's not a trick. It's almost metaphysical or spiritual here. Are you just giving support? Are you giving a little love, that's been lacking? Are you filling a void? Is that really, again, not the secret, but the success?
You hit it on the head. It's love. We
Yeah.
give them love, and when you embrace people with love and respect, then they can do things on their own. We don't do anything that the students don't prompt from us. So we give them love
Man.
and respect and a place to feel safe, and then they're working on all the skills on their own. We have amazing staff that teach them every single day. But all I do is hug them and drink coffee. Well, I just had lunch with a student, and
Yeah.
you share a little bit of lunch and a cup of coffee and a hug, and it's a good day.
Yeah,
Have any of the programs that you've brought on, have any of them come from students? The ideas come from students.
Everything's come from the students. So I've often told this story. I wrote a brilliant business plan because I'm a businesswoman at heart, and it was really good, if I must say so myself. Like, I think it was 54 pages
Wow.
and everything perfect. And I put it in front of a bunch of young men who were coming out of prison. And after they finished laughing at me, they redlined everything that I thought was great and put in what they wanted. And they wanted jobs. They wanted life skills. They really wanted that kind of stuff. They wanted to get a little stipend so they could get off the street.
Yeah.
And I incorporated every single thing that they asked me to, and that's why it's successful. If it would have been me, I'm a white woman serving underserved Black and brown kids, it would not have been successful. It's their program, and I do what they asked me to do.
You just said something that we've all said this before. Boy, if they just put their minds, this person in prison, and put their mind to something legitimate, look at how brilliant they are. They could have, and that's what you just said. You had a business plan, you thought it was awesome, and perhaps some people had spent some time in jail equally as brilliant and had a more practical understanding of what you needed to do. There's always a difference. I've said this before, which means somebody else has said it before, I'm sure. But there's a huge difference between surviving and thriving. And we shouldn't just try to make sure people stay alive and have enough to eat. How are we going to make sure that they thrive in this life and become productive citizens? Do the farming or the seeding before we can farm. It's really awesome stuff. You and I talked off air about Cafe Reconcile down in New Orleans. This is seems like it's a proven kind of method, a similar thing, just taking people, giving them love and giving them a couple life skills. I mean, what is it? Teaching people to be fishermen, instead of
Exactly.
giving them fish. It's the most basic of things that we can do. Can you give us a success story? You just had lunch with somebody you're very proud of. Maybe it's that person, maybe someone else. I mean, it's got to make your heart just fill with pride.
Yeah, there's actually not a student that I'm not really, really proud
Cool.
of. So it's difficult, but I could definitely speak to the young man that I had lunch with today. And it was just an off the cuff. He's done with the program and he's out looking for jobs. And he invited me out to lunch and we just sat and talked for 45 minutes, but we talked grown up stuff. We talked
Yeah.
about him paying off his car loan and we talked about him getting his first apartment. And it was such a different young man than that came to the program in the beginning.
That's
and
great.
he is going to do wonderful things for our community.
Susan, I want to ask you about that real quick. You alluded to financial literacy right there, which to me is one of the biggest oversights we have in our educational system. When I first showed up to college campus in Oxford, Mississippi, I can't tell you how many desks were out there to get us into credit cards. I had never had a conversation with anyone in my life about how credit actually works. And to me, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but I think I'm right here. Big business, or a lot of businesses, love getting people under their thumb for a long period of time. How are you incorporating that? That's a huge life skill that may be even bigger than anything else. How do you help kids with that? You had just a success story, paid off the car loan.
Yeah, well, we have volunteers that come in and teach class every day to the students. So
Yeah.
there's an hour kind of formalized class. And the gentleman, Rick, who did our financial literacy for a long time, we're now replacing him. But he taught them not how to invest, because we've had people come in and teach them. It's like, really? But Rick taught them how much they would pay for a $5,000 car if they took out the 90% interest rate loan.
Right.
And he really drilled it down so that we could all understand it. And he taught them the value of just putting money into the savings account. And it was his teaching method that really resonated with the young men and women that we were serving. So we teach them from the beginning because they don't have any money coming in unless it's illegal money. And when they start, we always say, let's set up a checking account for you and a savings account. So 10% goes into that
Yeah.
savings account, even if it's just a 20% check. And we teach them from the very beginning how to use the money the right way, because it's an invaluable tool.
Susan Trieschmann is our guest. We're talking about Curt's Cafe and the wonderful work they're doing. 2 locations, Curt's Cafe, 2922 Central Street in Evanston, and also Curt South, 1813 Dempster Street. Nina, you introduced us.
Yes.
So that's where I need to go get a cup of coffee, right? Somebody brought me a Starbucks today, and God bless Starbucks,
They hire
but,
our kids, so that's
oh,
okay.
do they?
Yeah.
Oh, well, they're ready to
I
go,
get
aren't
coffee
they?
from there too, yeah.
Okay, but how did you? Are you involved? Or are you just friends? You wanted to tip us off to something good and positive, or how did you come to know about this?
Well, when Curt started, I lived around the corner,
Yeah.
and I have a friend who worked very closely with Susan, who kept bugging me, please, you've got to come and help us. You've got to come and help us.
Yeah.
And I tried to resist, and eventually I ended up getting involved with Curt and being on the board.
Yeah.
And in my 20s, I worked at a place called Jobs for Youth, which was in the city. And so I did similar stuff, but on a much bigger scale with much less individualized attention. And so as I started getting involved with Curt, I just fell in love with the closeness of everybody in the cafe.
Yeah.
It's like Cheers. Everybody knows your name.
Sure. And that was I was going to say is I know you guys have shared interests, obviously. So do you run into some kids in the community that you might want to direct over toward Curt's? Is that no?
I don't really run into kids who
Yeah.
are direct to Curt, but I talk to a lot of
Yeah.
kids who are at Curt about
Gotcha.
their experiences.
And well, that's what I wanted to ask you. And if you answered this, I apologize. But how do you identify who you can help? And how do you, I don't want to say recruit, but how can you bring these youngsters into the fold? How do you do that?
We go through parole, probation, and social workers, and the more checks that they have in the boxes that are supposedly bad in life,
Yeah.
those are the students that we grab first.
Oh, really?
So if we can choose from 10, but someone has many, many more complications in their life, we choose that.
So this
person.
isn't just like a triage thing where, oh, you're too far gone. You want those students. You want to turn them around.
Yep. Well,
That's-
we want to give them a platform to turn themselves around.
Okay.
I was looking at some notes that you so kindly prepared for us today. And you have, I always forget these anagrams. Is that it? I always forget. What's the one? Life. We've spelled out life, and we've
Life.
got some things here. What is it called?
Acronym.
Thank you.
Acronyms.
Okay, life skills with the L. Life skills such as opening bank accounts, decision making, job readiness. We talked about that. The I, intellectual skills such as English, math, and computer literacy. It's amazing the number of opportunities, the doors that will open and close depending on how you comport yourself when you run into a potential employer. So, I mean, it's interesting. We all can run out there and talk informally, but we have to know when to really turn it on, don't we? So we can impress people. F, food service skills in the kitchen as baristas, counter service, and in food preparation. And then E, experiential skills by providing mentors to support the students outside the cafe. I have to imagine you have a number of mentors out there, good people who are helping you that we haven't named and probably get very little recognition for what they do. How huge has the community been in making sure this thing is a success?
The community is the backbone, I
Yeah.
believe, because the community is the one that sees the youth on the street and says, you know, this isn't who you are. I know who you are. You're from Curt's. Let's turn the ship around again. We have over probably 40 or 50 volunteers right now
Cool.
that do everything from teacher classes to take the kids to museums to make espressos when we're short on the line. So they support us. We only have 10 paid staff.
And one of the things that I do for Kurt's is we have something called Kurt's Crew, and
Yeah.
they are people. We have also about maybe 50 people on the list, and they're people who I can email at the drop of a hat and say, "We need you on Friday. We need
Yeah.
you on Saturday. We need you to help go with a kid to deliver some food. We need you to come and package some food." And those people, I send out an email, and right away we get a couple of people who
That's great.
can help us.
I know I can do this for Susan right here. Susan invites you to meet all of the student trainees, the staff, the volunteers. It's very easy to do. You just drop into either of the two Curt's locations. Curt's Cafe, 2922 Central Street, Evanston, and also Curt's South, 1813 Dempster Street. What did we miss?
What do you two order
Green
on
drink.
the menu?
There you
on
go.
the menu.
Cappuccino.
Quinoa salad.
Quinoa
Really good.
salad? Okay.
Apricot
Salad.
scones with white
Yeah,
chocolate.
with white chocolate.
Sounds delicious.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we will see you at Curt's. How about that, friends? French and Friends, Nina Kavin from Dear Evanston. We need to talk about Dear Evanston again sometime. And Susan Trieschmann of Curt's. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
It's been fun.
Appreciate it.
French and Friends, more coming up.